Now let's turn to East Asia, to the Korean peninsula, where tensions have just escalated. North Korea has upped the ante. It has begun severing all ties with the South. Quite literally, the North Korean military has begun cutting off road and rail connectivity with South Korea. They may not have been in use, but they've existed for years. Now North Korea is severing them. They're also erecting barricades, fortifying border posts, installing landmines and creating a wasteland between the two nations. It is quite the escalation. Why is Kim Jong Un doing this? What has he planned? And should the world get ready for another war? Here's our report.
North and South Korea are still technically at war. Yes, even today. The two sides last fought between 1950 and 1953. In July 1953, they signed an armistice to pause the fighting. It was not a peace treaty, but a temporary reprieve. So technically, both the Koreas have been at war for over 74 years. But thankfully, they don't actually fight. It's mostly metaphorical fist-shaking these days. North Korea keeps testing missiles and sending over balloons filled with feces. South Korea conducts joint drills with the US and blasts K-pop music towards the north using giant speakers. This is the reality along the DMZ, the demilitarized zone separating the two Koreas. On Monday, North Korea's supreme leader Kim Jong Un made a threat. He said he may use nuclear weapons against South Korea and the US. Washington and Seoul held joint drills recently in the East Sea, so Kim was upset, and he threatened nuclear retaliation. Now, normally this wouldn't be unusual, since Kim threatens to use nukes every few months. But today, something unusual happened. North Korea announced that it would start cutting off roads and railways linking it to the south. This was announced by the North Korean army. The army has been active at the border lately, installing landmines and clearing tracts of land. But cutting road and rail access is new. It was broadcast all over North Korean state media. Now, to be clear, it's not that you have a lot of traffic along the roads and railways. Remember, the two nations don't get along. So cross-border trade isn't exactly thriving, and people from South Korea aren't driving up to vacation in Pyongyang. While these roads and railways are almost vestiges of a bygone era, they've been put to use at times when relations improve and the South sends relief supplies. But now, North Korea is severing these connections. That is both symbolic and an escalation. The move comes after a parliamentary meeting in North Korea. Yes, the country officially has a parliament. It's mostly a rubber stamp, though. So the parliament met this week, appointed a new defense minister, and amended North Korea's constitution. Yes, they have one of those too. In January, Kim Jong Un had changed his stance towards the South. He called it an enemy nation, and he wanted to end Pyongyang's pursuit of unification. Unification was written into North Korea's constitution by Kim Jong Un's father and grandfather. North Korea hasn't confirmed whether their unification dream is dead, but the severing of roads and rails doesn't really bode well. Does this mean Kim is preparing for some all-out war? Does he plan to level South Korea? It's unlikely. Because South Korea does have allies like the US, who have their own nukes. An all-out war won't end well for Kim. What's more likely is that he's planning to sever all ties with South Korea for good and retreat further into his hermit kingdom. The isolation may work out well for Kim's regime, but it will further divide the already separated Korean people.
Firstpost decodes the U.S. election, explains how America chooses its president. Your primer on the race to the White House. Everything you need to know about how America votes and its global implications. U.S. Election Explained. Every Monday and Thursday only on Firstpost.